carefully. This is like, I know by now easy instructions for you. But then generate ideas about the passage. What do I want to say? What do I want to talk about? Determine an approach for discussing the idea. How am I going to talk about it? This is different from a linear read. How do I want to discuss this passage? Do I want to discuss it primarily as it relates to theme and characterization and conflict, or do I want to discuss it primarily as it relates to syntax and conflict and whatever else? In other words, you always should be able to generate in your head fairly quickly a menu of possibilities, and then you choose from that menu. I always think of it as a menu. Well, I could talk about these 10 things, but I'm going to pick these 4. And you should always pick the ones that you feel most comfortable with, that you think are most revealing of the passage. You know, I know you're all looking bored and distant, whatever, but I'm going to give you a passage in a moment and see how quickly and coherently we can do this. So give it some thought. Determine an approach, which is related to what I just said. Like I said, Seaver, since you're not scoring off the chart, I want you to pay attention. Determine an approach and, you know, decide how you're going to talk about it, your personal response. Not a checklist. Now, why do you think in the manual they stipulate so clearly not a checklist? That's not organization. It will help fuel a linear approach, say, but it will not necessarily give a focus to your paper. And always, remember me harping on this ad nauseum last year, but always, your commentary, your essay is only going to be as good as your thesis. If your thesis is overly general, vague, obvious, a little off, or sounds otherwise boring and commonplace, then that's exactly what your essay or your commentary is going to read like. So keep that in mind. And of course, gather lots of information to support your ideas. Now, most of you do this well in outside process papers where you have lots of time, but most of us are still fairly weak on this in class time, commentaries on unseen passages. So again, there's no magical solution to this except practicing it, and we can only practice it so much in class, and then I run the risk of boring it like I am right now. And I just highly doubt that you're going to spend your Friday and Saturday nights at free weekends practicing writing unseen commentary. All right, reading and appreciating poetry for commentary. Much of what we have done is poetry. You're going to get a poem as one of your options on the unseen commentary, so I thought it very important that we review this. The human impulse is a good place. And just remember it. I mean, the only value of something like this is you can break it down even to a simpler formula, right? You get a poem, okay, impulse, tension, and sequence. You know, I remember those 3 things. I'm going to tick them off and talk about them. And then contrast. And irony, you pretty much have it. You know, if you can just kind of commit those things to memory. So the human impulse, what is the poet essentially saying? Now, this is where, and again, I remind you guys, I know you like roll your eyes and you have to pay attention to the title, but I can tell you how many of you, when we did August House Plant, talked about it